We are entering our final unit, and our final unit focuses on research and argument. And there are several components that make up this final paper. It is really about process. And you'll be responsible for these kind of assignments that all culminate, they all come together to make this final paper. The first thing that you're responsible for is a topic proposal. And there are two parts to the topic proposal. One is sending me an article from the library database, which you'll see in this week's module, and the other part of the topic proposal is in the form of a discussion board. So the topic proposal is your first thing. The second thing that you'll be responsible for is an annotated bibliography where you'll compile your research from the library, and that is on the horizon of things for this week. You'll also be responsible for a counterclaim paragraph, which will also be a discussion board, a draft, which will workshop, and a final paper. And just like that, you will be done with English 111 and English 112 ready. English 112 picks up where English 111 leaves off, in that you'll be responsible for knowing how to do research and knowing how to construct an argument-based paper. So what is your task in this unit? What is it all about? And research and argument are really at the heart of an English 111 class. And your task, this kind of position paper, requires that you use critical thinking in a practical way about real world problems or issues. And one purpose of this position paper is to raise awareness of a current issue and generate support for either change or maintaining a current law or policy. The paper is based on facts that provide a solid foundation for your argument. So your task is to create an argument, to take a position on a controversial issue and craft an argument around your position, or argue that the issue exists. You can choose from a plethora of topics, although I have a list of topics to avoid below, which we'll talk about in just a second. There's nothing wrong with the topics that I put on my no-no list. It's just that they are simply overused, and I want you guys to stretch your way of thinking and not go for the obvious choice or the obvious issues. And like I said, I'll talk more about that in just a minute. In order to make an effective argument, you have to use evidence to support your claim, which is, of course, your research. You'll validate your position with authoritative references or primary source quotations, again, your research. You'll examine the strengths and weaknesses of your position. You'll summarize arguments from the opposition, concede points, offer rebuttals, and counterclaims, which is the counterclaim section of your essay. And then you'll also potentially evaluate possible solutions or suggest a course of action, or at least frame your argument into a larger context of why we should care in the first place. You'll want to choose an issue where there is a clear division of opinion or a clear problem present, which is arguable with facts and inductive reasoning. You can choose an issue on which you already have formed an opinion or have begun considering possible solutions. However, when we think about preformed views on issues, that may be hard to do if you're too emotionally tied to an essay. So, or not an essay, but an issue. I encourage you guys to look at an issue that you don't have preformed views on, or something that you've never really considered as an issue or a controversial point, mainly because it's really hard to, when we look at these preconceived ideas, it's really hard to look at an issue objectively if we are emotionally attached to that issue. And part of this particular assignment is to look at something objectively and to look at the weaknesses and strengths of your position and to look at the strengths and the weaknesses of the opposition. So if we're too emotionally charged or too emotionally tied to any given issue, that's difficult to do. The issue can be as serious or as lighthearted as you want it to be. I've had people write on why colonizing Mars is a good idea, why cats are better pets, or why dogs are better pets than cats. I disagree, but nevertheless. I've had people write on child beauty pageants. I've had I mean, the world is your oyster. Go for something new, go for something that is not so obvious. Um, and I'll show you a really good place to start in just a second. This is your APA style paper, unfortunately. So in addition to all of this, we'll be discussing APA format. And because it requires research, that is academic and from credible sources, you'll have to have a minimum of 5 sources in your essay that you use and that you cite, 3 of which must come from the Germanna Library databases, and one of those has to be from a scholarly peer-reviewed article, which we'll discuss in our library tutorial. The length of this paper, because it involves research, should be 5 to 7 pages, which doesn't include a title or a reference page. So that is kind of the horizon, the landscape of the next 4.5, 5 weeks for us before the end of the semester. So really quickly, I would like for you all to look at my topics to avoid. One of them is abortion, legalization of marijuana, climate change, global warming, the death penalty, euthanasia, or physician-assisted suicide. And like I said, there is nothing wrong with these topics. They've been argued to death, and I want you guys to look at something that is fresh and interesting. And a really great place to do that, I've put down here. There is a database through the library, which we will discuss at length in a few this week. Issues and controversies. And in issues and controversies, you can click on this link, but I have it pulled up right here. Issues and controversies is a great resource and a great tool for you to really explore all of the issues that you could ever imagine and find sources for in the library database. So if you look at this great big old long list, you can see a ton of stuff that is beyond the obvious choices. And when you, let me see here. Plastic surgery, that looks like a good one. When you click on this, you can see a ton of articles and a ton of things that surround that kind of overview of the issue. And I encourage you guys really to look here first before you go with your initial topic, or I encourage you to look here for a topic before you go for something that is obvious. That is it for me from now. That is it from me for now. Please let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. This is just kind of an overview of the next few weeks and the overall end goal of the paper that you're writing and all of the steps you'll be taking to complete that final paper. So let me know if you have any questions. I am super pumped to see what topics you guys choose and what you guys come up with.